Everyone wants to lead. Lead a team, lead a business, lead a family, or even lead a movement. But here's the truth most people never hear. You cannot lead the world if you cannot lead yourself. Leadership isn't about titles, positions, or followers. It begins in silence and discipline, in your choices. It begins when no one is watching. Leadership begins with self-mastery. You want to change the world. First, conquer the war within. Because until you do, no strategy, no vision, no opportunity will stick. Let's talk about the real foundation of influence. Let's talk about the power that comes not from controlling others, but from controlling yourself. Discipline is the beginning of everything great. Not once in history has a man risen to true leadership without first rising early with intention, rising with a reason to act. Discipline is the soul of progress. It is the architect of self-respect. It's not just about getting things done, it's about becoming the kind of person who gets things done. And leadership begins when a person says, I will no longer wait for circumstances to favor me. I will no longer drift with the current. I will no longer hand over my future to chance or excuse. That decision, that firm inner decision, is the beginning of all personal greatness. Discipline starts in the small corners of life. It begins with the decision to get up when the alarm rings, not because someone else is watching, but because your vision is. It's in showing up on time, even if no one is keeping score. It's in putting your phone down and picking your goals up. It's in doing what needs to be done when it needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. That's the test. Anyone can act when it's convenient. But leadership is born when you act with consistency. That's what separates the few who rise from the many who wish. There's nothing magical about discipline, but everything about it feels magical once it becomes a part of you. It takes your life from scattered to focused, from average to excellent, from reactive to proactive. The greatest tragedy is not failure. It's living far below your potential because of the absence of discipline. Imagine the man who had talent but lacked discipline. The woman with ideas but no execution. The dreamer with passion but no plan. They all had the seed but refused the soil. Discipline is that soil. It's where potential becomes performance. Now, some say they lack motivation. That's fair. Motivation is fleeting, but discipline is not emotional, it's structural. You don't build a life on feelings, you build it on decisions. And one of the greatest decisions you'll ever make is to impose structure on your chaos. To say, this is how I live now. This is the code I follow. These are the hours I wake. This is the effort I give. Because once you impose order on your habits, you begin to take authority over your destiny. Every disciplined day puts another brick in the structure of your character. Every time you resist the easy path, you strengthen your leadership muscle. Because the truth is, leadership is not about telling others what to do. It's about being the kind of person others want to follow. And no one follows someone who can't follow through. That's why those who lead must master themselves first. Your example will always outweigh your instruction. People don't remember what you say nearly as much as they remember what you show. If you want people to believe in your vision, I start by demonstrating your devotion. The greatest leadership tool you'll ever possess is the consistency of your example. And it starts with the small things. Keeping promises to yourself is where personal power is born. If you set a goal and then abandon it, you teach yourself that your word means nothing. But when you follow through, even on the little things, you begin to build the most critical form of trust. Self-trust. And once you trust yourself, you become unstoppable. Confidence isn't gifted, it's built. And it's built through discipline. Now, you don't need to be perfect, but you do need to be committed. You'll stumble. You'll miss a day. But if you have discipline, you don't stay down. You regroup. You reset. You return to the path. That resilience is the fruit of discipline. And over time, that resilience becomes reputation. People begin to see you differently. They sense your inner strength. They recognize your reliability. They feel your clarity. Because leadership doesn't shout, it resonates. Too many people want to lead others but haven't yet led themselves out of laziness, out of excuse making, out of emotional inconsistency. But when you commit to daily discipline, you begin to conquer yourself. And when you conquer yourself, you earn the right to influence others. You become the kind of person who isn't just heard, but who is felt. That's the kind of influence that changes lives. But leadership isn't only built on discipline. It must be built on something deeper, something stronger, something that never needs to be advertised in character. You see, charisma is shiny. It draws attention. It fills a room. It makes people laugh, nod, or even cheer. But character is the foundation. It is invisible, but it holds up everything else. Charisma may open a door, but only character can keep it open. Because when pressure rises, it's not your smile that people count on. It's your substance. True leadership is forged in integrity. It's formed in the quiet decisions that no one else sees. It's how you treat the people who can do nothing for you. It's whether your words match your actions when it's inconvenient. If you lie to yourself, you'll lie to others. If you cut corners in private, you'll eventually be exposed in public. Leadership requires alignment. Your public image must match your private truth. That's character. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You don't have to be the most talented. But if your character is solid, people will trust you. They will lean on you. They will look to you. Not because you are perfect, but because you are dependable. Character makes you consistent in a world that changes constantly. It gives your leadership weight. It makes your words carry value. And it ensures that when others follow you, they don't fall. The world is filled with noise. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone has advice. But not everyone has the life to back it up. Leadership is not about speaking louder. It's about living better. It's about earning influence, not demanding it. People are watching your life more than they are listening to your words. If you say you believe in growth but haven't read a book in 6 months, your leadership suffers. If you say you value excellence but always deliver just enough, your influence fades. But when your habits match your standards, your leadership speaks without a sound. This is the unseen side of self-mastery. You don't lead with titles, you lead with alignment. That means doing the right thing when it's hard, when it's costly, when no one is there to clap for you. That's when leadership is tested and proven. Because eventually, life puts you in situations where charisma won't be enough. You'll face resistance, temptation, pressure. And in those moments, only character stands. Only character speaks loud enough to silence doubt. Only character keeps the mission alive when everything else says quit. You don't build character overnight. You build it brick by brick, decision by decision. It's in the way you show up, even when you're tired. It's in the way you follow through, even when it hurts. It's in the way you treat people with dignity, even when they don't deserve it. That's how a real leader lives. Not for applause, but for alignment. Not for popularity, but for principle. And here's the beautiful part: anyone can build character. You don't need a background in leadership. You don't need diploma. You don't need a perfect past. You just need a commitment to honesty. You discipline and internal alignment. You need to decide that who you are is more important than how you appear. That's where your leadership takes its root. And once those roots are deep, nothing can shake you. Not criticism, not failure, not fear. Because once you master yourself, you become unshakable. And from that strength, others will rise. Not because you demanded it, but because your life inspired it. That's real leadership. That's self-mastery in motion. The world doesn't follow titles, it follows examples. The crowd isn't moved by position, it's moved by proof. You don't get to lead others just because you want to. You earn that right when you prove you can lead yourself. That's the foundational truth no one likes to hear, but everyone needs to accept. If you can't master your own emotions, your own calendar, your own energy, then how can you possibly guide someone else? Real leadership doesn't begin when someone grants you authority. It begins when you take full authority over your own life. Because nothing is more persuasive than a person whose life is under control. A person who says what they mean and does what they say. A person who walks their talk long before they expect anyone else to follow the same road. Most people want influence, but very few want to pay the price of personal responsibility. It's easier to blame. It's easier to point fingers. It's easier to say, they didn't understand me, or they didn't support me, or they held me back. But the truth is, no one holds you back more than the habits you refuse to break. No one limits you more than the excuses you choose to believe. Leadership means stepping out of that victim mindset. It means saying, no more waiting for others. I go first. That's the heart of personal leadership. It's not about power. It's not about priority. You become the priority. Your growth, your values, your vision. You don't outsource your direction. You full on it, fearlessly, daily, and it shows up in the small things. You can't lead a team if you can't lead your mornings. You can't inspire excellence if you're tolerating mediocrity from yourself. You can't preach accountability if you constantly let yourself off the hook. Leadership begins in the bathroom mirror, not in the boardroom. It starts with waking up with purpose, taking care of your health, managing your time and your money, managing your thoughts, mastering your responses instead of being ruled by them. It's not about being rigid. It's about being reliable. If your days are built on whims and distractions, don't expect others to respect your direction. But if your days are built on intention, structure, and commitment, people will take notice. And not just notice, they'll begin to follow. That's the thing about real leadership. It doesn't ask for attention. It earns it. You don't need to shout about your discipline. You don't need to advertise your routines. People see it. They feel it. There's something about a person who has harnessed their own chaos, who walks into a room with calm, who meets pressure with poise. That's leadership energy. That's what makes people trust you, even when the storm hits. Not because you're the loudest, but because you're the most stable. And that kind of stability can't be faked. It can't be borrowed. It can only be built. One choice, one standard, 1 hour at a time. And when you begin to live this way, something incredible happens. You stop craving permission. You stop needing validation. You no longer wait for someone to tell you it's your time. You realize that leadership is not something you get from others. It's something you grow within. You set the tone, you raise the bar. You show up when it's hard. You speak truth when it's unpopular. You stay grounded when others are shaken. And all of it flows from the simple but profound act of leading yourself first. But leadership doesn't end with self-control. It evolves into self-expansion. Once you learn to lead yourself, the next question I see, are you growing? Because the one who grows the most leads the best. Stagnation is the enemy of influence. No one follows someone stuck in who they were 10 years ago. No one is inspired by a person who has the same mindset, the same perspective, the same limitations they did a decade earlier. Leadership demands growth, and not just occasional growth. Consistent, intentional character building growth. The truth is, you cannot carry a bigger vision with a smaller mindset. If your thinking is outdated, your leadership will be too. That's why you've got to make learning a lifestyle. You've got to stretch beyond what's comfortable. Read the book, attend the events, study people of excellence, ask the tough questions, admit when you don't know. Growth requires humility. It takes courage to admit you're not finished yet, that you've still got more to become. But that humility is what unlocks the door to mastery. The moment you think you've arrived is the moment your influence starts to decline. And here's the cost growth demands: change. You can't grow and stay the same. You can't cling to old habits and expect new results. You can't surround yourself with the same small thinkers and expect to see big vision. Leadership requires pruning. You'll have to let go of comfort zones. You'll have to say goodbye to easy. You'll have to walk away from what's average, predictable, and popular. That's the price of growth. And the reward is leadership that truly transforms others, because it's rooted in transformation of self. Growth is not optional. Not if you want to lead. The world is changing too fast. The challenges are too complex. If you're not growing, you're falling behind. But when you commit to becoming more every day, more focused, more skilled, more aware, you position yourself to serve others at the highest level. And leadership is, at its core, service. It's lifting others by first lifting yourself. It's pulling people up by first climbing higher yourself. And here's what happens when you live with a growth mindset: you become a mirror for others. When they see you investing in yourself, they feel challenged to do the same. When they hear you speak with wisdom, they want to listen. When they watch you stretch into uncomfortable places, they find courage to stretch too. Your life becomes the example, not your advice, your life, and that's what moves people. But don't confuse movement with growth. Being busy isn't the same as getting better. Some people run in circles and call it hustle. Some people do more and become less. Real growth isn't about how much you're doing. It's about who you're becoming. Are your actions producing wisdom? Is your effort sharpening your focus? Are you more patient, more thoughtful, more disciplined than you were last year? That's the scorecard. That's what separates real leaders from those who are simply loud. You don't have to lead, you just have to grow daily, steadily, deliberately, brick by brick, habit by habit, layer by layer. Because everything you want to lead in the future depends on the person you're becoming today. Don't wait for opportunity to find you. Prepare for it. Sharpen yourself for it. Raise your internal standard so that when life calls you up, you're already there. Because influence doesn't belong to those who wish. It belongs to those who are ready. And the truth is, the better you become, the better your world becomes. Because leadership has a ripple effect. Your self-mastery becomes a model. Your discipline becomes a benchmark. Your growth becomes a roadmap. And people don't just follow, they transform. That's the highest calling of leadership. Not to be admired, not to be applauded, but to spark something in others that changes everything. And that spark always starts within. Not in charisma, not in strategy, but in the quiet, determined decision to become the kind of person you would want to follow. Because you can't give what you don't have. You can't teach discipline if you lack it. You can't preach growth if you've stopped pursuing it. You can't model strength if you're ruled by your emotions. But when you lead yourself with clarity, integrity, and growth, when you build that inner structure brick by brick, then your leadership is unshakable. And no matter what challenges come, you'll be ready. Not because you're perfect, but because you're prepared. There comes a time when the difference between the one who wins and the one who walks away isn't talent, resources, and timing. It's the ability to manage emotion. You've seen it before. The person with potential, energy, intelligence. But when things get tough, they fold. Why? Because they never learned to govern themselves when it matters most. They never developed emotional discipline. And without it, no amount of skill will hold. Because in the real world, storms come. Stress shows up. People disappoint. Plans fall apart. And when that moment comes, leadership isn't found in brilliance. It's found in control. You have to be bigger than your feelings if you want to build something that lasts. That's the rule. You can't let your moods dictate your motion. If you only act when you feel like it, you'll have a life of random results. You'll be a leaf in the wind instead of the captain of the ship. Emotion is real, but it should never be the driver. Leadership begins when you take the steering wheel back from your reactions and decide, this is how I move, no matter how I feel. That kind of decision builds consistency. And consistency is what earns respect. People follow the steady, not the stormy. You want to lead others. Learn to lead yourself in the dark. Anyone can be positive when everything is going right. But when the pressure is high, when the phone call is bad, when the news is disappointing, how do you respond then? That's where your emotional habits take over. Have you trained your response? Or do you allow your emotions to set the tone? Do you snap under pressure or stay calm? Do you spiral into fear or remain anchored in faith? Because how you respond to challenge determines your influence more than how you perform in comfort. Self-mastery in the emotional realm means you stop negotiating with your lower self. You stop giving your excuses a voice. You quiet the fear that tells you to slow down. You silence the doubt that says you're not enough. You choose to rise even when everything around you says fall. And that doesn't mean you pretend to be unshakable. It means you practice being centered until it's real. You train yourself to stay composed in chaos. You develop the habit of rising above reaction. You discipline your feelings instead of being led by them. Think of a leader you've admired. It wasn't just their words. It wasn't even their actions alone. It was their presence. That calm, clear, unshaken presence. That's what emotional mastery looks like in action. It's strength under control, power wrapped in poise. And you don't get that overnight. You build it day by day, situation by situation. Choosing to breathe in when it would be easier to break. Choosing to think before you speak. Choosing to act on principle, not on pressure. That's how emotional mastery becomes your default. Not because you're naturally wired that way, but because you chose to wire yourself that way. And when you master your emotions, everything changes. Your relationships grow stronger. Your decisions become clearer. Your energy is protected. Your time is used more wisely. You stop wasting days recovering from outbursts or nursing regrets. You stop giving your power away to every annoyance, every critic, every challenge. You stay grounded. And grounded people make great leaders. Not because they're perfect, but because they're consistent and dependable. And if you want that kind of strength, look at your routine. Because your routine is self-aware. Mastery is either forged or forgotten. Your routine tells the truth about your leadership, not your ambition, not your talk, but the structure of your days. Your routine reveals what you value. You can say you care about growth, but if there's no time set aside for learning, it's just a wish. You can say you want success, but if your schedule is built around entertainment instead of preparation, then success will always stay just out of reach. The truth is greatness is found in the mundane, the early mornings, the repeated rituals, the unglamorous hours. That's where champions are built. While others sleep, you rise. While others scroll, you study. While others coast, you prepare. It's not that you're better. It's that you've chosen to do better. You've chosen to take your time seriously. You've chosen to turn discipline into a lifestyle. And day by day, that choice adds up. Momentum builds, confidence grows, and before long, you realize you're not chasing leadership anymore. You've become it. Your daily disciplines will do more to shape your destiny than any dream ever will. The dream is the vision. The discipline is the vehicle. And the routine is the road you travel every single day. If your routine lacks intention, then your future lacks foundation. But if your routine is intentional, structured, and rooted in values, then your future is already being built. Hour by hour, block by block. That's the invisible advantage of those who take their life seriously. They're not waiting for the next big opportunity. They're preparing for it. Quietly, diligently, faithfully. Start with how you wake up. Do you command your mornings, or are you dragged into your day? Start with how you spend your first hour. Is it built on preparation or distraction? Then look at how you protect your mind. What content do you feed yourself? What words do you absorb? What voices influence your thoughts? Because all of it is shaping you. All of it is either strengthening or weakening your leadership. You become what you do daily, and not what you occasionally feel inspired to do. And don't underestimate the power of the small. The small things compound. 5 minutes of clarity beats 1 hour of confusion. 1 page read today beats 1,000 unread intentions. A workout done with discipline beats a perfect plan abandoned. It's the small habits done with consistency that produce uncommon results. And over time, those habits shape who you are. They become your identity. They become your edge. While others are up and down, you are steady. While others wait to feel motivated, you just show up. That's the secret. Showing up every day, not with perfection, but with presence. Not with hype, but with heart. When you train yourself to show up for yourself, even when it's hard, you become someone people can count on. And in a world full of noise, trust becomes the most valuable currency of leadership. People trust what they can predict. And your routine makes you predictable in the best way, not boring, but reliable. People know you'll bring your best. People know you'll be prepared. People know you won't fold when it gets tough. And that trust opens doors. That trust creates influence. That trust draws people to you, not because you're selling anything, because your life is proof of what's possible when a person chooses discipline over distraction, growth over comfort, structure over chaos. Your routine becomes your statement. Without saying a word, your actions declare, this is who I am, this is what I value, this is how I move. And that kind of example is irresistible. But remember, routines aren't built once. They're built daily. You don't set a schedule and forget it. You adjust. You refine because you're growing. And as you grow, your routine must grow with you. What served you at one level may limit you at the next. That's why awareness is key. Stay sensitive to what's working. Pay attention to what needs to evolve. Don't get stuck in comfort. Routines are meant to serve your mission, not become your master. Let them stretch with you. Let them rise with you. Because you are not here to live the same year 75 times and call it a life. You are here to evolve, to lead. And the greatest way to lead is to live a life that's structured around what matters. Your daily routine isn't just a set of tasks. It's your leadership blueprint. It's the proof that you're not just talking about growth. You're scheduling it. You're not just dreaming about success. You're preparing for it. You're not just hoping to be respected. You're living in a way that earns it. And that's what the world needs now. Not more noise, not more promises, but people who live what they preach. People who show up with excellence on Monday morning, not because someone told them to, but because they've chosen to. So look at your routine again. Does it match your goals? Does it reflect your values? Does it elevate your thinking? If not, change it. You're in control. Don't settle for days that feel random and reactive. Build days that are deliberate and empowering. Stack habits that sharpen you. Eliminate what drains you. Protect your mornings. Honor your evenings. And fill the space in between with choices that honor your purpose. Because in the end, it's not what you say about leadership that matters. It's not even what others say about your potential. It's what you do. Consistently, quietly, deliberately. That shapes who you become. And who you become is what will lead others into who they can become.